Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living in Maryland channel where we discuss all things living here in the great state of Maryland. So if that's the kind of information you are looking for, then you are definitely in the right spot. And today we are talking about the cost of owning a home here in the state of Maryland in 2025. So just like most of the country in Maryland, we've been dealing with some inflation over the last few years. So this is something I haven't talked about in a while. So figured I'd put together a video and just kind of give people an idea of what to expect cost-wise of owning a home here in Maryland. So jumping right into it, we're going to start with the first thing of what to expect cost-wise is going to be property taxes. Now, I do want to say within Central Maryland, you've got various tax rates across the different counties. They're pretty close, but some of them are a little different. So I just wanted to kind of specify that if you are looking for very specifics in regards to a specific location, feel free to reach out and I can give you more details on that. But in general, here in Central Maryland, you're looking at about 1.25% of the retail price of the home, the sales price of the home, right? So for example, if you buy a home for $500,000, 1.25% of that, you can expect your taxes to be roughly $6,250 a year. Let's call it $6,300 a year. Now that would not be including any certain areas that maybe have a certain city tax. Like there's areas like Tacoma Park in Montgomery County, Incorporated Frederick, the city of Frederick, Columbia has a city tax within Howard County. So if there's something like that, that's going to be above and beyond. But as far as your typical traditional county property taxes, 1.25% on the sales price is going to give you a good ballpark of what to expect those annual taxes to be. Now, I will say the state reassesses homes every 3 years here. We recently had our third child, a few months ago. Things have been hectic, so I guess I've been a little lazy. I've been meaning to call and appeal that because, of course, they're trying to raise our property taxes across the board, and it's not too bad. We do have a homestead tax credit here, so I have that. So I don't think mine are going up crazy. I did want to call and just try to appeal it just to kind of get familiar with the process so that I could share that with people. But that's something to expect too. Every 3 years, the state is going to look to reassess, and you could see those property taxes increase. Now, as I mentioned, when you are living in a home, when a home is your primary residence, you can apply for a Maryland homestead tax credit. It's a one-time application, doesn't cost a thing, and it does cap your taxes at increasing more than 10% on a given year. So it does, it doesn't eliminate your taxes going up, but it does help reduce it in the inflationary time that we are seeing. So when it comes to property taxes, that's what you could expect. All right, next, I wanted to jump into what homeowners insurance looks like here in Maryland. So overall, I feel like it's not that bad, especially when I talk to people from different parts of the country, Texas, Florida, and other states where it seems to be a little bit crazier there. But in Maryland, we have seen significant increases over the last few years. So this is something I wanted to include and kind of touch on. So just as a personal experience, I've seen my homeowners insurance. Let's see here, it's well over. It's about two and a half times what it was 3 years ago. Or 2.5 years ago. So it almost doubled 2 years ago, and then this last time it went up a good 30%. So it's gone up significantly the last few years each time I've come to renew. So this is something that kind of stands out, and this is something across the board. When I talk to I go through an insurance broker, which I do highly recommend when I've seen people kind of get quotes. I do see the local brokers, just being able to shop, different insurance companies seems to be saving people, money on those premiums. So if you ever want any local contacts for that, feel free to let me know. But this is something across the board with overall cost of inflation, because of course they're looking at the rebuild of the home if there was a total loss. So when it comes to cost of labor, cost of material, those have gone up. So that's reflected in increased premiums for homeowners insurance. And then I was told that, the natural disasters in like North Carolina, in the Carolinas and stuff, that is increasing, or that is impacting cost of insurance, homeowners insurance here in Maryland. So those were a couple things. I'm sure there's more to it, but those were the two big ones that my broker told me that it's just, everyone's hands are tied. So now the other thing too that I noticed on a recent transaction of mine for a buyer of mine is this was the first time I've ever seen it. I had a buyer, they were denied. They were basically told that the home was uninsurable because it had a roof that was 20 years old. It was a 20-year-old 3-tab shingle. and they said it was uninsurable by their primary carrier. So they could have tried to go through another carrier, but it would have, the premiums would have increased significantly. So I guess the reason why I bring that up is because insurance companies are getting pickier. They're looking at stuff a lot in a lot more detail. So depending on ages, roof tends to be the big one. So as you're looking at homes, maybe keeping that in mind, that if it has an older roof, you might have issues going with some of the carriers that offer the best pricing. You might have to look at alternative carriers, and you might be looking at higher premiums when it comes to that. So this is all stuff that's been happening just in the last couple of years. So insurance has changed significantly, and insurance companies are being a lot more detailed when it comes to these sort of things. So, but when it comes to cost, just to give people a rough estimate, when you're looking at a smaller detached home, so maybe let's just say 1,000 to 1,500 square feet detached home, and then your typical townhomes or row homes, you're probably looking somewhere in the $1,500 to $2,000 a year for a homeowner's insurance policy, and that's probably going to be like a $2,500 deductible, somewhere in there. Usually there's $1,000 deductible, $2,500, $5,000. Those are typically the common ones. A larger single family home is probably going to be in the range of $2,000 to $3,000 a year for a homeowner's insurance policy. And then your condos here are going to be what's called an HO6 policy, or also known as a walls in policy. So, we do have a decent amount of condos here in Maryland. When you own a condo, typically like the apartment style condos, they're going to have a master insurance policy, which is going to cover everything outside. So like your roof, gutters, siding, stuff like that. So you're only going to be required to have a walls in homeowners insurance policy when that's the case. And those run is usually somewhere between $400 to $600 a year. So those are going to be a lot less because they just have to cover less. So there's less liability for the insurance company in that case. So when it comes to homeowners insurance, just being aware here in Maryland that we've been dealing with significant price increases when it comes to premiums. So maybe considering a higher deductible to try to drive that premium down. Being prepared to shop, because I've seen premium prices all over the place. So, and I do think, I've seen buyers of mine in the last 6 months just have a lot of success with local insurance brokers. So that's kind of a tip where I've seen people save a lot of money. So just kind of having a ballpark expectation of somewhere in that price range, I think is going to put you in the ballpark when it comes to what homeowners insurance is going to cost here in Maryland. All right, next is going to be water and sewer. Now, this is something where I came from on the West Coast. I was used to paying this every single month. So it was very refreshing when I came to Maryland, and we actually only pay this quarterly. So it's something that, one less bill that comes every month. It's spaced out a little more, and it's very reasonable. I always tell people, your water and sewer bill, expect every 3 months. That's when it's going to come quarterly, somewhere in the range of $125 to $200 every quarter. And that's assuming that you're on public utility. Now, personally, I'm on public water, but I'm on a septic sewer system. So mine actually is usually only around $65 a quarter for water, because I'm not paying the sewer charges. So somewhere in that range, depending on use, of course, depending on some factors, but I really see a lot of people in that range of $125 to $200 a quarter for water and sewer. So, there is, something unique to Maryland. We have what's called the Bay Restoration Fund. You're going to see that. I think it's like $20, paid, each bill. So every quarter that contributes to the state being able to help people who are on septic, either convert to public utility, public sewer, or get, when their system fails, helps them to get onto what's called a BAT system. So it's going to help them. The state's going to step in and cover them to be on a best available technology septic system, which is going to be a lot better for the environment. It's going to be a lot better for the homeowner as well as the environment. So they're pretty nice systems, and they do a good job. So if you look at that bill and you see a Bay Restoration Fund, that's what that's for. It's assisting the state in assisting property owners and making sure that they're on newer septic systems, just to kind of help everybody out. So when it comes to water and sewer, that's what you can expect. As always, I am a licensed realtor here in the great state of Maryland. So if you ever have any real estate questions, or if you are wondering whether buying or selling a home may be the right decision for you and your family, I'd absolutely love to have a conversation with you and see how we can best assist. Feel free to reach out however you are most comfortable, and we'd love to have a conversation. Next, trash and recycle. This is something that you are going to notice for most people within Central Maryland that's going to be paid through your property taxes. Now, I live in Howard County. I pay $325 every year through property taxes, so it's not something, which is really nice. So it's not something I have to, another check that I have to write, another bill that I have to stay on top of. It's just wrapped within our property taxes, and that's how that is handled. So we have a trash pickup, once a week. We have recycle pickup once a week, and we also have, I forget the exact timing of the year, but it's not 12 months out of the year. It's usually like 6 to 8 months out of the year. They're going to have like your sticks and leaves and just kind of your outside stuff kind of pick up. So you can put all that stuff in paper bags that you can get from Lowe's, Home Depot. You can set those out and they'll take that, and that's usually on the recycle day. It's a separate truck, but it's usually piggybacked on a recycle day. And again, those are, it's several months throughout the year. They take, as you get into winter, they start kind of taking a few months off once the trees have all dropped the leaves. So it's nice. And again, something that I was not used to is with the trash people, they come around old school, two dudes on the back of a truck, and they're just dumping stuff in. So the reason why I mentioned that is because you'd be surprised how much you can set out. You can just kind of set loose, not loose trash, but maybe like a small piece of furniture or something like that, and they'll take that stuff. I mean, I've seen them take a ton of different stuff. So when it comes to trash and recycle, it's very, very flexible. You don't really have to get on the phone and coordinate all these, bulk, trash pickup stuff for certain individual items. So they're very flexible in that regard. Now, when it comes to paying trash and recycle, if you are in a more rural area, like, once you get into certain parts of Western Howard County or, Carroll County, more rural parts, right? You are going to have to, that's going to be a separate service that you're going to have to hire. So now, but for most people, if you're in a neighborhood, if you're kind of in more of the Central Maryland area that's more heavily populated, you're going to pay trash and recycle through your property taxes. And it's going to be somewhere in that range, usually around $350 per year as part of your property taxes. So that's what you can expect when it comes to that. All right, last but not least, want to discuss what you can expect as far as cost of utilities. Now, I am going to keep this kind of strictly to electric, only because I'm not very familiar with natural gas. I've owned a couple homes here in the state of Maryland over the last 10 years. My first home for a few years was on oil, and then of course electric, and my current home is all electric. So I can't speak specifically to the cost of natural gas. I do think it's a little more affordable when it comes to winter months and using all that heat. So I would expect probably your bills to be a little, if you have natural gas, especially in the winter months, to be a little lower than what I'm talking about right now. So I'm just giving electricity numbers because this is kind of what I'm used to, and I was kind of dissecting some of my bills to kind of speak to you guys about this here. So just be aware of that. This is more driven specifically to, strictly electricity. So when it comes to like April to June, so I'm kind of going to, parcel this out into a few sections throughout the year, just given the different, temperatures. So from April to June, definitely more, more modest. You're seeing ranges of temperatures between, in the high 40s, maybe into the 60s. So it's a lot more mild. You're going to be running your heat not very much and your air conditioning not very much during those months. So I've been noticing over the last few years, I'm averaging about 1,000 kilowatt hours. Of course, we have a few kids. They're using stuff all throughout the day, right? So it's kind of crazy. Hopefully a lot of you are using less than that, but 1,000 kilowatt hours during that time frame of the year, and that's usually putting me at around $175 average a month during those time frames. Okay. Now, when it comes to more summertime, so July, late June through September, that is jumping, a little higher. That's jumping to like 1,200 to 1,400 kilowatt hours, and that's putting me in the 250 to 275. High twos range a month during those months. So that's something to be prepared for. Now, when it comes to winter, this is where the electricity starts to get a lot more expensive, especially if you are on an all electric system, namely heat pumps. If you have oil, it's going to be, different. That's going to be something that you're going to have to order through, companies here locally, and that's going to range based on the cost of fuel. So when I was dissecting my last few years of usage here in the winter months, especially when you get into January and beyond through the end of March into early April, The usage jumps somewhere between 2,500 to 3,500 kilowatt hours per month. So that's usually getting me well into like the 400s up to even into the low to mid 600s a month. So somewhere between 450 to 600 usually on average in the colder winter months. Now, of course, this last winter we had a pretty cold winter this past winter. So, of course, every winter is going to be a little different, but that's what, as far as my household, my bill, that's what I've seen kind of on average the last few years, and kind of just to give you an expectation of what to expect. Now, outside of winter, it's very reasonable. I mean, I'm around 150, no more than $200, and more the mild months. And then even using that AC in the summer, it's never as much, it's never as much as it's going to be in the winter. So those especially those all electric heat pumps are going to use a lot more. Now, again, if you're on a natural gas home and you've got a natural gas heat source in the home, I do think that it's going to be, I do think it's going to be less. It's going to be more affordable. And I know those natural gas rates have come up. But I don't think they've come up as much to be as expensive as the all electric units. They don't tend to run as much because it's a hotter fuel source coming out the vents and everything. So they're more, I think they're a little more efficient. They don't have to run as long. So there's going to be several different heat sources here in the homes in Maryland, namely your all electric heat pumps. You're going to have oil based heat systems. You're going to have natural gas based heat systems. Those are going to be the primary ones that you're going to see. So when it comes to electric, that's what you can expect. As always, if you ever have any real estate questions, please feel free to reach out. However you are most comfortable. If you are wondering whether buying or selling a home may be the right decision for you and your family, we would love the opportunity to have a conversation with you and see how we can best assist. And we will see you at the next video.